Now we are creating a culture of continuous marketing improvement. It's inevitable that you want to know how you can create brand trust in this era where everything is digital. So I would like to call onto the stage Alveena Khalid. You're staying, Alveena, CEO of Alvs, and also Kevin Somerbang, founder and creative director at Kinetic Slides. And they're going to give you an overview of the matter through this Fireside chat session. I'm sorry, Kyla. We have Kyla Villanueva, CEO and founder of Growth Creative Solutions. Hi.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hi, everyone. So I'm very excited about our discussion. It's going to be about creating brand trust in the digital age. And if you guys were here earlier, you know that I started my agency at age 18. So I know a thing or 10 about working 10 times harder than everyone to get someone to trust me to do their digital marketing and spearhead all of their initiatives. So over the past few days, we've had a lot of very collaborative and educational discussions about how we do all of these initiatives for our clients, but how, as digital marketers or as marketeers and as agency owners, how do we build that brand trust within ourselves, presenting ourselves as more than service providers and as businesses, and collectively we've decided to make this discussion but a bit more targeted to all of the agency owners and marketeers here. So how do we build brand trust so that our leads don't run away after a first discovery call? Okay, and go to the cheaper alternative or the closer alternative. And so before we go further into the hows and whys of building brand trust, it's really important to know what could possibly happen, what are the consequences of not building that trust from the get-go. Okay, so as we know, as marketers, customers that are looking to get things done quickly and have the money to pay up front, they're a bit more careless about where that money goes to. So a little analogy for you, if I was really hungry or if you guys were really hungry, you wouldn't travel 30 minutes to go to your favorite dining spot, right? You would sit, enjoy the food, whatever is at your convenience. So it's the same way when we work with our clients. And a lot of these businesses that are doing B2C, they want to hire urgently. They want someone to do digital marketing really fast. And so you're going to have to work a bit faster. You're going to have all of the things they need to trust you. So I'm really grateful and I'm really happy to be sitting here with Kevin and Alveena because they're really good at what they do. And if Kevin, you want to talk about one of the foundations of brand trust, brand awareness, I would love to.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of us are digital marketers here, and we know that there's much more experienced and seasoned marketers compared to us. It's obvious that we're like the youngest marketers here, right? Do you guys agree? Right? So I feel like I'm not the best person to speak about this, but I know that we can all agree on one model. It's called the KLT. Anyone knows about the KLT model is? No, like, and trust. Oh my gosh, just the young ones know it. Okay, anyway, no, like, and trust, KLT, right? So it's a model that is non-salesy. It's approached on how you move someone from being a stranger to a raving client, right? So KLT stands for know, like, and trust. And then there's no shortcut, and each stage must be met before a prospect trusts and buys from you. So audience have to know you, they have to like you, and then eventually they will trust you. Once they trust you, that's the moment that they would decide if they would do a purchasing decision, right? You cannot expect someone to just know that, hey, this Alane bottle is a water. Maybe I'm gonna try it on, stuff like that. Yeah, you don't expect it to happen. So knowing your brand is the easiest, but it doesn't mean that they will automatically buy from you. They have to like you, and surprising, and it's not just about trust. It's not just about liking you too. They need to trust you even further. So trusting means you have to de-risk the audience and get rid of any objections related to the budget, to time, and to the process. And having said all that, we should know that it takes time and it's not an overnight feat, right? Sometimes it takes years and even decades for a brand to get trusted, to be liked, and to be known, liked, and trusted. And that three model, we can dive on a lot of topics under it, but I choose to just stick with one because we only have a few minutes. We only have like 35 minutes. And I chose to speak about brand awareness. Again, I'm not the perfect person to talk about branding here or even just the KLT model, but I'm going to share my experience, what has worked for me, and what has helped me to kind of increase the number of bookings that I have and eventually to close more deals of real estate companies who wanted to create a pitch deck and raise millions of dollars, right? So awareness. Brand awareness is not just about your audience getting familiar with your company, with your logo and the colors of your brand. It's much more than that. It's about what separates you from the other brands who do the same thing, right? And knowing your unique offer would make it easy for you to reach your target audience. I know that a lot of here are digital marketing agencies, but have you asked yourself, did I stand out among all others who are doing the same thing? Right? Did you guys ask yourself? Because if you did, I think you are doing a great job in terms of brand awareness, right? So there's one local mastermind community in the Philippines. It's called the Freelance Movement Tribe. And the first thing that they teach all the members in that tribe is profile optimization. So you got to know what to offer, who you offer it to, and the results that you want your audience to have. And having profile optimization helped me cut the time our target audience express interest in buying our service. Like when you go to LinkedIn and you type in presentation designer, there will be a bunch of people that you will see. And then if I were a real estate company and I'm looking for a presentation designer, and then I saw someone who is very niche, who's always only doing presentation designs for real estate, I would say, hey, this is the guy, this is the company, I need to book. Even if we are not connected, the first time when I see the profile, because it's so optimized for me as a real estate company, I would connect with that person, and the first thing that I would say to him or to her is to say, hey, I need your service. We should schedule a call because I am willing to pay for it right now. That's what profile optimization did for me. That's just part of brand awareness, guys. Now, brand awareness also leads people to recognize the possibilities or no possibilities of working with you now or in the future. That's a good thing, right? Because you don't want all people to come to you saying that, hey, we want digital marketing help. Can you do this for us? It's even better if they visit your profile and then know for a fact that, hey, I don't think I'm the right he's the right person for me, or I'm the right person for this company, right? That's what brand awareness does. Does it also apply to referrals? The no formula? Of course it does. And but the conversion speed and rate is way faster and higher than your typical conversion for a lead. But just for the first panel this morning, said we are not supposed to trust just on referrals, otherwise our pipeline is gonna dry in the future or months from now, right? So we have to work on know, like, and trust to keep people coming our way. So I have a few tips that you can probably use, and this worked for me to get an influx of qualified leads, booked calls, and eventually closed projects. The first one is to genuinely connect with the big names or influencers in my niche. So what did I do? I found out who the personalities that my ideal clients are looking up to. So for instance, in the real estate space, there was that one guy, he's named Joe Fairless, and he runs the biggest multi-family syndication in the real estate space. So he coaches lots of people in the real estate space, and then people look up to him. I connected with him on LinkedIn and say that, hey, I'm a big fan. I bought your book on ebook and then read all about it, and I appreciate that you also preach what I preach, which is about branding and then making sure that you're marketing lives up to 2022 and not 1990s, right? And then what did I do? I repurposed Joe Fairless's content, his book, into carousels. Guys, you know what carousels are? The one that you could, swipe from left to right, right? So I put a big ass picture of Joe Fairless in the first scroll, and then surprisingly, it has gotten me the most number of views and clicks and engagement on LinkedIn. And then after that, I've been booked for lots of calls, and then people get interested in what I offer. They feel like I know Joe Fairless from a very personal standpoint. They feel like we are friends, and then they feel like, hey, maybe this one is something that Joe Fairless likes because maybe this guy works for Joe Fairless, stuff like that, right? So that's what I did. And then lastly, I gave Joe Fairless a free service in exchange for an exposure. So I waited for the perfect time that Joe Fairless had a keynote, and then I talked to him on LinkedIn and said that, hey, Joe, can I see your keynote for the upcoming conference? And then he sent it to me, and then I say, you preach about branding, you preach about marketing. Why does your deck suck? I mean, why is it not consistent to your colors on your on your Facebook and on your website? You're not walking the talk. And so he was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And then I said to him, in exchange for one slide, I will revamp your presentation, but at the end of the deck, allow me to have one slide that talks about myself. And then that's free. I gave it for free, and then just right after the conference, I got an influx of calls from qualified clients who are excited to buy my service. So that's one thing that you can do. It's not just about content that you could be known by your audience, but it's personal outreach, especially with the big names in the industry. I think that's what I can contribute based on my experience. You guys have any input with regards to being known by your audience?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit more about that. So I think before we could go deep into, why, brand awareness, how you can actually achieve that, it's really important to understand the importance of it. So I'm sure all of you would agree to the fact that referral marketing and people attesting to what you're doing is one of the most powerful thing to market your brand. So if I were to have a Tesla, I'm definitely a fan of Tesla, definitely, you can see that. So if I own a Tesla and it's in my garage, there's so many, it increases the chances for other people in my neighborhood to actually buy that Tesla. I am personally in the crypto industry. I work in the blockchain. And because of that, there are a lot of people in my friend circle or in my family got involved into just, the blockchain side of things. So, and that's one of the reason why I'm mentioning this is because if I were to say that I have studied from Harvard, that explains everything because Harvard has done a great job at really educating people of who they are, what they do. People don't have to come up with you with follow-up questions about how competent they are or what they do. But instead, if I say name of a college that's not very popular, that would bring in a lot of different questions about where they are, what's the curriculum, how competent they are. So to avoid all of these kind of questions, I would not even mention my college in the first place. So that kind of blocks all of this referral marketing. So if you're doing a good job at teaching everybody what you're doing and eliminating the need for the users or your customers to explain what you do, that's going to generate automatic, referral marketing, UGC, and all of that kind of natural stuff. That's something that you need that's when your customers become your brand advocates. So that's one of the main things that you can definitely take into account. And another thing I would like to add to the whole framework that we have is to first you need to teach any something. I think we talked about having Facebook ads. So so instead of there's one thing that a lot of people miss out on, and that's something I've learned myself from experts, is that whenever you're creating ads, for example, so instead of doing A/B testing, go ahead with 9 ads, scheduled 9 ads. How that's going to work, the first 3 sequence of the ads can be about brand awareness. Second 3 ones can be about how relevant they are. among the people that you're distributing that ad to, and the last three sequence can be about the conversion, whatever CTA they want to go. Experiment with 3 different types and make sure your audience is not watching or viewing the next ad without viewing the first one. So that's something that you can also take into account. I think we talked about in the first day of Marketing 2.0 about customers need to see your product at least 7 times before they even consider purchasing it. So go with the same analogy, go with the same process, make sure that you're going through the whole user journey and making sure that you're out there, putting yourself out there, and really driving that, instead of just talking about the conversion, instead of just promoting that, hey, we have a sale, go with, the whole process of brand awareness, relatability, and then finally the conversion part.
Yeah, I found all of those insights really valuable, and I love how I think we've established that brand awareness is really important. However, just because your consumers know you doesn't mean that they essentially like you and that they will eventually trust you. So, how do we get our consumers to like us after they've known us, after we've made them aware that, hey, we exist and this is what we do? What are things that we can do to build on our credibility? So, I want to expound more on the letter L in our KLT framework. So, that's like. And it's so important, right? Because they can know all of the details. I can know all about Pepsi, but I'm still going to go for Coke. I can know all about KFC, but I'm still gonna love my McFlurries. So, how do you get people to like you? You treat brands like people, right? That's how you build connections. So, aside from my digital marketing agency, I also teach freelancers how to work from home and get started on their freelance journeys. And when I'm teaching them about social media marketing, I teach them these 3 things that'll make any strategy successful. So, that's frequency. Okay, and there's relevance and also consistency. So when we talk about frequency, it's also very aligned with what Alveena said. Your consumers need to see you at least 7 times, and if you're posting 1 time a month, they're not going to see any of that. So it's really important that you show up on the platforms that you're meant to show up in, because when you see someone, I don't know if you guys have dated, but when you're in the dating stage, the more that you see someone, the more attracted you are going to get to them. So it's the same thing when we're building brand trust. The more that people see us, the more that they are aware that we're still here, our business is still thriving. They trust you because you are keeping things running. And then we talk about consistency. So when you say you are a digital marketing agency and you don't show up on social media, you don't have a website, that's a bit sketchy because you're not walking the talk. Yeah, so it's really important to me. Whenever I sell my digital marketing agency, I've also been working on my personal account because I can't claim to know my social media if I don't have at least 5,000 followers on my Instagram. Because otherwise, what am I here for? Just to make profit? No, I really have to show that I'm really into it. And last, of course, is so we have frequency, consistency, and relevance. So is the message that we're sharing to our audience something that they're actually interested in? So in social media, I see the easy way out content is always a did you know or a fun fact. Is it really that fun? I mean, you have to really do your market research. It's so important that you are your consumer so that you know how to talk to them in the language that they understand. And we're not talking about English or Arabic here. We're talking about the slangs they use. Okay? Are we incorporating names they know? Are we talking about places that they frequent? Okay? So that's really important, and it isn't limited to social media, right? So frequency, consistency, and relevance really partakes in building brand trust. So I think, doing those things, being frequent with your customers, being consistent in your messaging and your visuals, and also, being relevant, doing your research.
Yeah, I want to add something to that, Kyla. You mentioned about having content, right? But I want to dig further about really building connection. So we had this thing called cheerleading. So basically, you go to the profile of your target prospects, and then you go to their posts, and then if you feel like you wanted to celebrate with them, then put a celebration icon and then say something like, congratulations, I've been looking forward to for you to have this award and stuff like that. I know that you were able to close this deal before 2022, stuff like that. Having a very positive attitude would also attract positivity from your audience.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. You can move on to the next one. So another thing that I think we can talk about after being relevant to people is the trust part. On how you can actually get people to trust you. So besides one thing I'm sure that everyone does already is showing proof. That's the number one thing that, whenever you're talking about something, make sure you're presenting yourself, case studies, and I'm sure you all are already aware of that. But one key thing that I notice between the kind of work I do and the kind of work that's in Web 2. So just a background about myself, I'm completely immersed into the Web 3 area. So I barely know anything about what happens in the digital marketing that's currently happening. And one of the main things that I notice is that the community of Web3 blockchain is so much more engaging than any other community in the Web2 space. And I really like to break it down into two things and why that's the case. Number one, because every single community member in Web3 is an investor. So they're definitely your brand advocates. The second thing is that everybody is transparent. We don't have to make the same changes in the Web 2 in the normal traditional marketing that we're doing. We don't have to make every single person an investor, but we can make every single person a brand advocate. And that's when referral marketing comes in. The second part I touched upon was transparency. So in the blockchain space, unlike the regular about page that we have put up on our websites where we talk about who we are, in blockchain, we are required to have something called a white paper. So what this white paper is, it talks about every single thing you're doing. You're 100% transparent because every single person is an investor. You need to be very transparent. Why can't we just have the same thing in the Web 2 space? So when I say transparency, they're revealing what their financial model is like. They're revealing if they're raising 100 million right now, how they're allocating their resources. How much is it going to marketing? How much to the team salaries? How much is going to the campaigns or the VC or the development? This is how transparent they are. Not requiring everyone to say that, but definitely being very transparent on where you're spending your time and how you're devoting yourself internally as well. If you do not post anything for 3 days, you're gonna get your community members all aggressive asking you what you have been doing and why you haven't been answering them. So, and one of the things I'm noticing, even Gary Vee, he has an NFT and he is in Discord most of the time talking to people. This is how clear, direct, and transparent everyone is. Why can't we have the same thing in the Web 2? Be very transparent of everything that's happening. One thing I can talk in terms of B2B is whenever you're reaching out to a client for just like in your regular templated emails and you're doing your automation, you're doing your outreach, you can just send them a message that, hey, we researched your project, you're doing a great job, and we had an internal meeting about you. Here's a screenshot of a Zoom call that we had. Take a screenshot of that Zoom call and send that over to you that, hey, we had a small, quick brainstorming session internally about what are some of the things that we can do for you, and here's XYZ. Can we hop on a quick call and talk about this? This is the kind of transparency that that people really love, and when we do implement these kind of things in the traditional marketing or in just the regular Web 2 projects, I think we can really have the kind of same competitive brand loyalty and engagement that is currently in the Web 3 space.
Yeah, talk about transparency. I wanted to, because all of us are faced with discovery calls, however you want to call it, sales calls, whatever. Sometimes we are pumped up or hyped up or we get excited when we talk to a really big company or a prospect, right? And sometimes we tend to promise something. But one thing that I've learned in the past is that you don't promise what you really cannot give. So for instance, way back like 3 years ago, we still don't have copywriters in-house. We didn't have someone who would help us craft a good message that is related or tied to the brand voice of our clients. So there was that one client I remember. I mentioned that we will help him to craft a good storyline, but ended up just helping him with the visuals, and then he ended up not giving us five-star rating, right? So that's just one of the deadliest things that I did. So what you can do is assess yourself, know yourself, what you can do, what you can deliver, and then with that, you try to just do two things: either deliver or over deliver.
Yeah, and I'd like to add on to that. Another really good way to build trust after the no and the like is to really capitalize on the social proof that you have. So if you know that you are over delivering for your current clients, make the most out of that. What I like to do personally, and it has helped me exceed in referral marketing, is I ask my clients to do video testimonials, or I ask them to leave me a testimonial on a specific project that I worked with them. Because a lot of my clients I handle, they ask me to go on board and do one thing, and then eventually they like it so much that they ask me to do another thing. So I ask them to go on detail on what I did right and what I did to help that business out. And that way, when you're in a discovery call, a strategic thing to do would be to upload that client testimonial right after that discovery call, because that's exactly the time where your lead is going to go and stalk your socials, stalk your LinkedIn, and make that decision in their head whether they're going to go for you. So that's just from a digital marketing agency perspective. But if you are selling B2C, client testimonials still work. And another way to get into the hearts of people is to get your clients to vouch for you. Another good way to get other people to vouch for you is influencer marketing. So it's really big right now. When we talk about UGCs, they work because you have real people vouching for your products. Okay, but when you pay influencer to do this, you are capitalizing on a follower base that they already have. So I personally think that influencer marketing is one of the biggest ways that we're going to see brands build trust within the digital age in the next years, because it's just starting right now. We just see influencers posting on their social and doubling the sales of a specific company. What more in the next years? So I like to think that influencer marketing is a branched out version of referral marketing, but it's more powerful because you have someone with millions of followers, millions of super fans that are willing to sell out this product just because they like the person. So other people's voices, word of mouth still really works in digital marketing. You just have to find ways to make content out of it.
Yeah, I wish I could do influencer marketing with my business Kinetic Slides, but apparently I don't have the money to spend, to Joe Fairless or the big names in the real estate industry in the US. But I think I mentioned a while ago that, trust, KLT, right? Trust means you have to de-risk the feeling of your prospect or your client about whether they're gonna get an ROI with the money that they're throwing at you for the service that you're promising to them or not, right? So it's all about sometimes on a sales call, it could happen that they would instantly trust you. You just need to provide them with the information on how you do the projects, like the step one, how long does it take? Why does it take that long? What are the background processes that takes place when you're working, and then they're not gonna. How many times you get together, or what are the updates, all the milestones before you could end up with $1 million pitch deck, something like that. So you just have to inform them, and then inform them in a way that's educational, and at the same time that they would inspire them to say that, hey, Kevin is here to help me with my pitch deck, and he's gonna take it and then run with it. And when he comes back, he's gonna give me a deck that's gonna help me raise capital faster. I hope that made sense.
That actually got me thinking of another aspect that we can actually implement. So, how many of you have heard or are part of Sephora loyalty program? Yes, I'm sorry, guys. So how this works is that the more you purchase, just like any other loyalty program, the more you purchase, the higher the ranking you go, silver, premium, and then the more perks you get. You get freebies on your birthday, and all those surprises that you get. So how we can actually leverage that in a B2B or even B2C market is creating similar loops and similar loyalty programs. If you're in a B2B business like digital marketing agency that you currently have, you can actually create a system like this with your clients. Start off by having a loyalty program among all of your clients. You know, put out some of the action items that they should be doing. You know, maybe launching X number of campaigns with you, or spending X number of hours with you. They're going to be upgrading it to the next level, and in return, you can actually exchange a few good freebies or free services just for your clients, and building that kind of loyalty program and getting that client retention over time. That's for B2B. For B2C, you can copy the same thing, but instead of doing it in a real world, like I mentioned with Sephora, you can actually digitalize it by you know, something that you can do online. One thing that I personally do is on Discord. There's a platform called Discord, similar to how other social media projects are, but the way it works is that you create X number of requirements that this is what people should be doing. Here's a calendar of the next 30 days of events that we'll be having. Make sure you attend this, and the more you attend it, and I would break it down that what exactly do you need in order to be in the silver, gold, or diamond loyalty aspect. And then the more you are in there, the more prizes or freebies or whatever that you can give out to them, just in order to incentivize and motivate people to engage more and really become part of your community.
Yeah, I remember also Amra talking about the brand activation for Nivea, right? I think that's one of the best ways to promote your brand so that your target audience would trust you better. So brand activation, especially for B2C. So that's it, guys. Do you have anything to share before we could probably accommodate some of questions?
Yeah, I think it's time for questions. We are running a little bit low on time. So if anyone has any questions for us, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to put my journalist head on and throw a curveball question at you. So, brand trust, you've created this brand loyalty with your audience, and say you are Balenciaga, James Cameron and Disney, Kanye West. You've gone and screwed it up on social media by doing things you shouldn't do in your latest promotions. How are you going to regain that trust with your customers? And in a digital age, we can also talk about what is the thing that your consumer has at their fingertips? Information. It's real easy for them to dig up stuff very, very quickly, and for it to get out there and destroy a brand in seconds. Look at Carlos, the CEO of G2 Games, seen out partying with Andrew Tate. They lost a $100 million sponsorship slot in an e-games sponsorship overnight. So how do you get that trust back? How do you win your consumer or your other businesses' trust back when it's gone that far? Sorry.
No, that's a very good question. Actually, we did touch upon that about the crisis management. That's a very good question. So there are a few things that you can do. First of all, the best thing you can do is to really take it, be transparent again, and admit that whatever you have done and acknowledge it. And whenever a crisis is loud, make sure if you have corrected it, make sure your answer is louder. If you have corrected that mistake, make sure that you're actually screaming at the top of your lungs that, hey, we have corrected that. So that can actually lead to something positive in the long run. That's one thing. And second thing is definitely having, sometimes, whenever we started the last session about the social media, sometimes silence is the key. You need to wait, just like all those viral campaigns that happens, or any sort of thing that goes viral happens, it slows down for a moment, wait for it to slow down, and then that's the time when you can actually come up front and talk about your experience and your point of view on how you can deal with it. Having a good crisis management, or even just a good strategy put in place for situations like this is essential before you can go out there, start commenting or replying to people. And it's definitely a good idea to talk to a few professionals and before you can actually start to implement and be out there in the media talking and addressing questions like these.
Because it's such a fragile thing these days. Trust is such a fragile thing. Do any of you guys have any questions on that? Would you like to take to the mic there? And he might have to stand on a chair.
I actually have a question for every one of you, but I don't know if we have the time. So I'm going to start with Kyla. Kyla, in terms of influencer marketing, do you think micro influencers or macro influencers work better to establish trust?
You know what? I have a lot to say about that because I've tried with the big influencers with millions of followers to create one post. It creates brand awareness. But if you want to focus on community building and if you want people to trust what you're really saying, the people to reach out to are micro influencers because you have their closest family following them, their new fans, and these are people who are more likely to buy just to support their little neighborhood influencer. So if we're talking about sales and community building, the micro influencers, even the ones under 10K, do the best. And you will also notice that you get really good content because these are mini celebrities that really want to put their faces out there. Whereas you get these 1.55 million influencers on social media, they will deliver the post and they will do it following all of the guidelines, but there's no authenticity. And the past few days, we talk about how authenticity is so important, and you get that more with the smaller neighborhood influencers. So, yeah, that's a really good question, and I keep preaching it to my clients who want to spend millions of pesos on celebrities, but I'm just telling them the micro influencers will give you more for your buck.
Can I just
Actually,
I just wanted to ask a follow-on. I think the key word you used there was community, which exactly nail on the head. But working with influencers, how do you verify the authenticity of their followers? I used the example yesterday of a prominent businessman here who was verified, gained 600,000 followers overnight. So it was obvious they were all just bought. So how do you have people to have trust in the influence when they're just buying their followers, so they don't actually have any real engagement?
Okay, so buying followers is a big no-no in social media, and as digital marketers, it's important that we know how to spot them on the get-go. So there's actually a tool that you can use that can calculate an engagement rate. If you see someone with 10,000 followers but with only 2 to 5 comments on their posts, that's a bit sketchy. So I would rather collaborate with an influencer with around 5K and you see 100 comments on their posts. These people have community. These people have impact. As little as may be, conversions are higher. Yeah.
This next one's for you, Kevin. You spoke about ROI in terms of sales. What are some ways to establish trust or ROI on a sales call besides case studies? Because ROI is something you can only prove to clients once you actually start working with them.
Yeah, so return on investment, right? What are the ways that we can promise ROI to our clients? Specific to what we do, we can't really promise them to, we cannot say to them that, hey, in the next 14 days, you will be able to raise $50 million. So it's not just about the quantitative aspects of an ROI that we promise to them, but much more about how they would feel when they're on stage. Because from GoDaddy, they would say that if your brand looks good, you feel good, right? So when you're up on stage, there's that psychological thing going on, saying that, hey, my slides are good. I'm gonna be premium looking on stage, and people tend to trust me more or give me their money, hard-earned money, just because they perceive me as an authority already. So that's the reason why we use the phrase "raise capital faster" instead of "raise X million of dollars in blah blah number of days." So yeah.
Thank you. Alveena, this one's for you. I don't know if you did digital marketing and then moved to Web3 or just started off with Web3, but given that Web3 has more transparency and that leads to trust, why do a lot of Web2 companies not move to Web3?
So I think the number one problem that we have right now is knowledge. Not a lot of people, I'm sure, even in this room, maybe 100% aware of what it is. And even the Web3 experts are also experimenting with different things and what works, what doesn't. And we are currently in the process of getting that mass adoption towards blockchain. And a lot of projects are onboarding onto adoption mainly because of this thing. First of all, there's definitely an incentive of keeping more profits. That's one thing. Transparency is another thing. And there's also this trend that a lot of projects are already onboarding. If you just check the stats right now, there are more people converting into Web3 than ever before in the history. So it is, it's a new technology, a lot of learning that's happening at the moment. And once people understand, not just the companies itself, but also their audience, once they both understand and once the technology evolve, I can really see a lot of these projects onboarding. It's actually one of the trends that I'm expecting to happen in 2023.
I have a follow-up from that. For current Web2 companies, what are some ways that you could suggest we could look at moving to Web3? That kind of gets started with.
Yeah, so you can never go talk to an agency or anyone who helps you build, a Web3 company without doing your own research first, because there are a lot of, different projects. You need to do your own due diligence about, guessing what product or which agency or which professional can help you get on board. Start by, getting all those crash courses, right? Learn about NFTs, learn about business models, learn about the projects that are doing well versus the ones that are not doing well, and see the connections. It's the best part is, again, since it's transparent, you get to see every single vendor, every single founder. You don't have to go search for the team members on LinkedIn. It's right on their website. Exact people, vendors, advisors that they have, and how they're using that money they have raised to build that kind of blockchain. Learn about it. The more you learn about it, the better. And that's when you can start talking to whether it is legal. There are a lot of people actually in marketing to in even finance and law. Upstairs, you can talk to a lot of people. There are a lot of people there that are helping you set up your companies and onboarding regular Web2 companies onto Web3. So go ahead with that. Exchange business cards. And once you have gotten to that, overcome that block of learning, when you have gotten better at that, that's when you can start, onboarding and maybe looking into the adoption side of things.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. That was super insightful.
Very, very quickly. Do you want to come up and ask a question? Super quick, because we are out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Joined in the middle of the session, but great session, guys. Firstly, just want to understand, Kezia talked about micro and macro influences. How do you analyze, the followers of an influencer? Because there are a lot of, there's a lot of trash in there, right? And it's not easy because specifically for private profiles, you cannot access Instagram data through the API, right? And even for public, you cannot access it public. It's not publicly available. It's only available to the owner, number one. Number two, how do you use data analytics to build that brand trust in the digital age? Because I've seen a lot of agencies, and they're not too data driven, specifically in Pakistan, the very typical marketing agencies, and that's why I look up to companies like Growth Shop, or in the US is a Critical Mass, which handles digital marketing for BMW, because I've interacted with them directly because when I worked for BMW. So what I want to understand is, what is your take on these two topics, just to understand the digital age?
Yeah, I'm gonna go and take the lead on the question on influencers. So there is no way you could assess those followers one by one. And I figure that a bunch of the apps that claim to do so, they don't really deliver. So where you wanna look at is when you take a look at the profiles of these influencers, you wanna take a look at the comments. So if you see a lot of heart emojis or fun, nice, awesome, yes, that's very manual. So I take in the time to assess the influencers one by one, because you really want to get your money's worth. You're going to send them products, which will take transportation, or you're going to give them a fee. So you might as well do it on your own, while there are no apps to automate it right now. But influencers, if you choose them correctly, you are going to get a lot of money back. So might as well take the time to make sure that you are going to be getting your money's worth. It's only going to be 5 minutes to see that there are no awesome, pretty, beautiful, gorgeous comments on there. So if you see comments that are of value, chances are they're legitimate. They have a very good community. And
just to add to that, there are actually tools that tells you who are the influencers your competitors are working with. And they tell you who are the biggest advocates of their brand. You can check out those tools. Make sure you reach out to those influencers that are working for your competitors. Maybe tap into those and see how that goes.
Okay. Thanks, guys, so much. We have to wrap up now. So thank you so much. What a great chat. Thank you so much. Alveena, Kevin, and Kyla, amazing chats. Wonderful to have the youngsters on stage. It's good. It's good.